Hello, everyone, and welcome to the fourth installment of Talking with Talamantes and Titus. This is the bi-weekly AHW Town Hall, your source for all AHW information, campus updates, and questions answered. My name is Courtney Titus. I'm the AHW Vice President, and Chief of Staff Rhymes is out of town this week, so I'll be helping facilitate this event. So the items for discussion that we have this evening are the AHW committee spotlights, because all students at large are eligible to join any AHW committees. President Talamantes will give us a Board of Trustees update. I'll give you a legislation update, and then we'll talk a little bit about a major event going on right now in partnership with the Slice Office called Pokes Vote. Then we'll move into open forum, which is your opportunity to ask us questions, and we'll go over questions that were submitted previously on our feedback form.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Amanda Doran. I am a College of Business senator, and I'm also the chair of Budget and Planning. So currently what my committee is working on at the moment is special projects. Special project is a great way that your student fee dollars give back to the community at large. We have $100,000 to distribute to different projects that will benefit all throughout campus. Right now, we are in the application stage of this, and you can email me to get a copy of the application, scan the QR code, or it is on our website as well. Some special projects that have been done in the past are examples like Safe Ride. So the deadline for special projects is November 1st at 5 p.m. You can submit it to me or the ASUW office, and we will go through your application and then schedule a meeting with you. Please email me if you have any other questions about this or anything that the Budget and Planning Committee does, and we'd be happy to answer them. Thank you.
I do just want to hop in real quick. Sorry, Courtney and Senator Doran, just to also give you some other examples of special projects, because I think this is a really cool opportunity where if you all as students see that there's maybe something in a building or your facilities, or maybe there's a resource room for you in the union or in any other building around campus, special projects is a great fund to utilize if you're looking for facility upgrades. So as Amanda had mentioned, we use Safe Ride funding to make upgrades to Safe Ride. In the past, we've also given some money to the outdoor program because they wanted to get paddle boards. Vice President Titus last year used some special projects funds to get free menstrual products in the bathrooms of the union. So there's just a plethora of things that you all can do, and Amanda is really great, and she'd be more than happy to answer any of your questions or any ideas that you had. But I just wanted to throw that out there because it's a really cool opportunity where you can use your student fee dollars to go back into, you know, places that you typically go to study at, all that kind of stuff.
Okay, hi, my name is Anas Al-Rajal. I'm a senator for College of Engineering and Applied Science. And as well as I'm a member of the Committee of Advocacy, Diversity, and Policy. I want to tell you more about like the purpose of our committee. We're trying to serve all students, all student organizations, and any underrepresented like committees to voice their opinions, concerns regarding like the university policies, administrations, or any other issues related to the student life. Actually, we're trying to advocate for all students in the campus to achieve the diverse mission of our campus. Why I joined this committee? Actually, like by this committee, we can like represent all the students who have like concerns about like their welfare or like quality service available at the university. We have like the ability to investigate the student issues, meet like with the officials of the universities and administrators, and we're trying to draft like some legislations related to some issues related to like the students' life in the university. And as well as we're trying to like represent the diverse views of all students in the university. Actually, we are trying, now we are currently working on like many things. We're doing like some outreaching like effort for doing like several informations, as well as we're trying to compile all the COVID sources for the campus and for like Laramie community. Also, we were like we were referred to many legislations by the ASUW, and one of them like to support the student employees during the COVID-19 for like setting some emergency leaves. So at the end, I want to summarize that we are trying to help all the students from different backgrounds, any students from the university who has like some like concerns or issues that trying to address. We're trying to represent them, and if they have like any issues with like some concerns, we're trying to help them, and we can like draft some legislations to help them in that. As well as at the end, you can contact me for any questions at my email on the slide. And if you have any other thing, you are more than welcome to shoot me an email, and we can talk more about the committee. Thank you.
All right, hi y'all. My name's Madison Ingleby. I'm a senator for the College of Arts and Sciences, and I'm a member of Programs and Institutional Development. So our main purpose of our committee is we are the point of contact for all of the programs on campus that work directly with ASUW. So these are programs such as Aztec, United Multicultural Council, First Year Senate, all of Greek Life, and all of our senators basically have a specific point of contact with them, and they come through us to help write legislation for possibly funding. We did a lot of work with the Sustainability Coalition and making them a strategic partner last year. I was interested in the committee mostly because we do a lot of direct work with people who make a big change on our campus. Without a lot of these programs, students wouldn't have as much accessibility to plan events and do big projects on campus. And currently we are working on doing a roundtable with all of our programs to help them reach back out to the students. With COVID, it's hard for them to do a lot of their advertising and to reach out because they typically make posters and do tabling in the union, and they can't do that. So we're gonna hopefully do a roundtable this week or next week on Friday and figure out how we can get them back in touch with the students. And if you have any questions for me, you can contact me with the email on the slide. And our meetings are also open to the public.
All right, guess I'm up. Hello, everyone. I'm Hunter Swilling, the ASUW Chief of Legislative Affairs. I'm one of the paid student employees that ASUW has employed, and I'm basically in charge of a lot of the administrative tasks for the Senate and keeping track of a lot of those things. I'm also on the steering committee of the ASUW as an ex officio member, which is what I'll be talking about today. So the steering committee. First off, just a little bit more about me. Why did I join ASUW? I joined because I thought it would enable me to make a difference in student lives, and the steering committee specifically is one of the things that enables change within ASUW. So it changes the change agent. So the steering committee is one of the 6 standing committees of ASUW, which means it meets all year round. The steering committee is the committee that first steers legislation. So legislation can be submitted to ASUW in the forms of bills or resolutions that express the opinion of ASUW, and bills that enact policy change of ASUW. Once they're submitted, we then steer them to the other committees, which basically means we meet and then decide what the legislation is about and decide where it should go to have a reading and discussion for the Senate. For example, if we were steered a budget, it would go to the Budget and Planning Committee. So that's the main thing that the steering committee does. But we also keep track of a lot of internal policies and other things for ASUW's Senate. For example, we track absences and service hours for all the senators and do a lot of behind the scenes work. So we're currently working on editing a lot of the working documents of ASUW to bring them up to date and to make them more comprehensible and sensible and easy to read. Specifically, we're working on the bylaws, the elections policy, and the finance policy. If you have any questions about what the steering committee does or what you can do for it or with us, then feel free to contact me at the email shown on the screen or type in ASUW Chief of Legislative Affairs into the directory on the Outlook email search function. And that could get you in contact with me. Thank you, everyone.
Hello, everyone. My name is Jake St. Marie. I am a senator for the College of Engineering and Applied Sciences. I am a member of the Student Organization Funding Board, and I'm the chair of the ASUW Elections Committee. So first, I'm going to talk about the Student Organization Funding Board. So the purpose of Funding Board is to allocate student fees back to students through RSOs. We do that through funding events, conferences, and academic competitions. I joined the funding board because a big part of my college experience coming through here was being involved in student orgs. And that whole time, the question that always came up was, how do we pay for things? Where are we going to get our money? So I joined the Student Organization Funding Board to help student orgs receive funding to be able to do the things that they would like to do to enrich their college experience. Right now, we're currently working on funding some student organization events, conferences, and competitions. We have seen a slowdown of those with COVID and the COVID regulations and policies. So we are trying to find other ways to help and support student orgs. And on top of that, we've just been working on updating some ASUW documents to make them clearer for student orgs. If you have any questions about Funding Board, feel free to reach out to me at my email. And I will talk about the Elections Committee now. So the ASUW Elections Committee is the only special committee we're talking about today. So it does not meet year-round. It'll meets a couple times in the fall and then quite a bit during the spring. Our committee's purpose is to put on the ASUW elections to elect the people who will represent everyone, represent our student body. Right now, we're currently working on restructuring the elections process to try to make it more fluid, and we're looking at finding ways to get a more diverse and representative group of students to run in the election. Elections are right around the corner, so if anyone here is thinking about it or wants to run in the election, you should. It's a great experience. If you have any questions, you can also feel free to reach out to the Elections Committee at my same email. Thank you.
Hi, everyone. My name is Anna Savage, and I am the current senator for the Hobbs School of Environment and Natural Resources, and I'm also chairing the Student Outreach and Programming Committee. So SOP is primarily focused on creating events and programming that engages the student body. We do a lot of things from supporting annual events that happen just about every year, while also considering what we as a student government can do better to make sure that the student body stays involved. Examples of a lot of the bigger projects that we've worked on in the past are usually surveys to get student input on really big issues on campus like concealed carry or student fee increases. We also host regular events like Finals Outreach Week, where we give out a lot of goodies to help support students through their end of year assignments. Currently, we're working on a couple virtual outreach events to adapt to COVID. One of which is a Kahoot tournament where we're hoping students get engaged and show what they know about UW and win some really cool prizes. We're also working with a couple different groups across campus to help plan homecoming in a way that's safe for everybody, but hopefully so that we don't lose what I think is the best part of fall semester. And we're always looking for student feedback and participation. Student outreach and programming is really reliant on student interfacing. So if anybody's ever interested in participating in the projects we have going on, or bringing a project forward that you'd like to see happen, feel free to reach out to me at that email.
Thank you, senators and executives, for sharing a little bit about your committees with us this evening, or this afternoon, I should say. So, as I said before, all students at large are eligible to join these committees. I encourage you to scan this QR code. There's just a quick form you got to fill out, and then I will get in touch with you as soon as possible. So now we'll be moving on to our regular reports and communications from the executive branch, starting with President Talamantes.
Hello, everyone. So for my communication and update, I'm just going to be going through some of the updates from information that we got at the Board of Trustees meeting in September. That was about 2 weeks ago. And so there's a few action items that ASUW is going to be pursuing in the next month. So by the time the next November board meeting rolls around, we have some stuff ready to go that I think really does pertain to students. And so the first update that I'll give you was from the Biennium Budget Committee, which is the Board of Trustees and basically the university's budget committee. And so I think one of the biggest things here that they attended to was some of the budget cuts that were happening. Those were the main topic of discussion. If you all are interested in finding some new information about budget cuts, our special event at Senate this upcoming Tuesday will be Ann Alexander and Neil Theobald, who are the head folks who are running the budget reduction group. They're going to be giving the ASUW Senate kind of a rundown of the numbers that they have come up with for the budget reduction. In addition to that, I had sent you all an email through the All Student Listserv about a few hours ago that also expressed kind of an interest if students were interested in learning a bit more about budget reduction and wanting to really give their input and feedback as to what particular departments are getting cut and how that may affect students. There are budget focus groups that are happening among the student body that those two folks are also going to be popping into and helping run. And those are going to be happening next Thursday from 12 to 1. So that's Thursday, October 8th. And then the next one will be Monday, October 12th from 6 to 7 p.m. So any UW student is allowed to go. I think this could be a really great opportunity for you all to not just get information about budget reduction, but get the information and just be able to, address have some of your concerns heard and some of your feedback heard from the people who are really making these decisions. In November, the President Seidel is going to be bringing that budget to the Board of Trustees, and from there, they are going to approve or disapprove of that particular budget reduction. So students' feedback is very critical in that. So that was one conversation that had kind of happened at the Biennium Budget Committee. In addition to that, the Board of Trustees every summer month before a particular academic year, they vote on a tuition policy. And so there is a tuition policy that has been in place for a couple of years now where undergraduate and graduate tuition would be raised 4% as a tuition increase for the next following academic year. And so this summer, the board had decided to postpone that conversation until November to see kind of students' input and then also seeing how the budget reductions would kind of implicate whether or not they wanted to raise tuition in particular places. And so they have asked Student Financial Services and the Financial Services Office, as well as ASUW, to provide a recommendation on tuition increases. And so Vice President Titus and I had sat down with a senior in the Financial Services Office to kind of help us through this process. So you'll see in the next coming weeks, maybe some folks who are part of PhD or graduate programs where their tuition may go up very significantly. We're hoping to, collaborate with that office as well as President Seidel's office to put out a survey for students to kind of get more information about tuition, where their money would go, and ultimately just ask students how they would feel about this particular increase and give them information about where that money would go to. So I think that's probably some of the two biggest things that had come out of the Biennium Budget Committee that something ASUW is going to be working on very heavily for the next month. And so our next committee was the Academic and Student Affairs Committee. And really in this committee, the we had just discussed the removal of the ACT and SAT requirement for the admissions process. So many incoming students are running into the issue where their ACT and SATs are getting canceled due to, that place not having adequate testing site or space to socially distance. And so the Associate Vice Provost for Enrollment Management, Kyle Moore, had brought up this issue to the committee because there are also a lot of other competitor schools offering this option. And so the board did move to approve the removal of the ACT/SAT requirement for admissions, so long as there's a disclaimer that informs students this may have implications on their financial aid and scholarships. And so while the ACT and SAT requirement will be optional for students enrolling in the fall of 2021, the ACT and SAT will still be required for a variety of scholarships, such as the Hathaway Scholarship. And I do know that committee is trying to work with the state to see how they could be able to, help students in this time when they are really trying to have a difficulty finding their ACT and SAT. I know a frequently asked question, even from some people in the Senate and just students all around, is will the ACT and SAT requirement be something that's ongoing, or is it just for next academic year? And right now it's just for the fall of 2021. And so I think in, the next coming months, when we're getting closer to that date, the trustees are going to kind of evaluate the pandemic that we're in and the situation to really see if this is something that we should move forward with. But that was kind of an update from that committee. The next one that I found very interesting, the Board of Trustees does have a VP and Dean search committee. So there are some committees that are in the process of searching for new vice presidents and deans all across the university. So some new developments in that. The Art Museum officially has a new director, who is Nicole Crawford, who is also the interim director. And if you all don't know, the Art Museum is going to be open. So I would head over there if you are ever kind of bored or don't really know what to do as a socially distant activity. It's a really great one to also see some work that we have at the Art Museum as well. The committee is also in the process of finalizing the search for the Deans of Arts and Sciences. However, since most of this was discussed in executive session, that's all I can really say. And the search for the new Provost of Academic Affairs is still in progress, and they hope to find a new provost by January of 2021. So this is essentially the person who kind of runs academic affairs and really does kind of decide various things within that department. And so in the spring, they'll begin the processes for the search for the deans of two colleges, the College of Engineering and Applied Sciences and the dean for the College of Education. And the reason that they're waiting until the spring is because they really did want the new provost to be somewhat involved in that process. And President Seidel is interested in getting students involved in that search committee. So they'll be touching base with some senators from the College of Engineering as well as the College of Education to see if they would be willing to serve on these search committees. So, you all can have a dean by the next academic year. And so the last thing that I think was probably the biggest discussion that had happened at the Board of Trustees was an update from the athletics director, Tom Berman, about the athletics fee. And I believe September 16th or 17th was when he kind of presented to us. And so we have learned brand new information about the Big Ten football conference considering to play football at the time, which I believe was probably about 2-ish weeks ago. We were still in the process of wondering if UW football was going to be happening. And so as you all know right now, it's happening. They're going to be having games at the end of October. And so I had kind of asked Tom, just because since, there's going to be a reduction in the amount of students that are going to be allowed in War Memorial Stadium, since, we haven't been able to watch or football or even participate in some of the other sporting events for the past month and a half in the semester, if you would be interested in considering an athletics fee refund. This was something that I anticipated would happen at the September meeting, but because of all of the new information with football and there being a very high chance that football would have been played, there wasn't much of a discussion around the athletics fee reduction. However, since I had kind of brought up these points to him at the board meeting during his update, he said that he was still very receptive for there being some sort of refund for students, since, we haven't really been able to access 100% of the fee or what we really get out of that fee in normal years. And so us at ASUW, we're going to be working with the athletics department in the coming months to see if we can bring something to the board in the November meeting that does give students a percentage of their money back. So I would look out in the next month for any kind of legislation that's coming out in the ASUW Senate about a support for an athletics fee refund, and we're going to be starting those conversations very soon. But I think that is all updates I have for the Board of Trustees. I was about to say thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you, President Talamantes. Yeah, so I just have some quick legislation updates for you all. The AHW Senate has been meeting all academic year. We're still working for you, working alongside the student body to serve the students' needs. So we've passed some legislation, also heard some legislation. We passed Senate Bill 2706, which changed a scholarship that AHW manages in order to basically open it up to be available for more students. So this scholarship is aimed at students of marginalized identities who have shown a commitment to diversity, inclusion, and leadership involvement on campus. The timeline for this scholarship is still TBD. The scholarship committee is still TBD. But if you or you know a student who might be eligible for the scholarship or interested in it, keep that on your radar. Reach out to AHW if you have any concerns or questions. We have a lot of money to give away, so I really encourage you all to apply for this scholarship and acknowledge the fact that there's need for that, especially in this year. The next resolution that we passed is AHW support for student employees during the COVID-19 pandemic. Basically, this resolution just says that AHW supports student employees who have lost wages due to COVID-19. We've heard student concerns about lost wages during pauses and whatnot, and this resolution urges the university to help those students and find a collaborative solution alongside AHW. We also are reviewing some finance policy edits and revisions to our bylaws in order to update the language and make it more accessible. Those grammar edits are pretty boring and mundane, but we do have a brand new website on our AHW website under the AHW Services tab, Student Organization Services, or on the homepage. You can access that page just by scrolling down and clicking through the carousel and finding Student Organization Services. This webpage is basically a hub for all of the services that a student org may need, from catering to funding to asset storage in the union and in Night Hall to conference registration, competition funding. Anything you might need can be found on this webpage, including marketing assistance from our director of marketing. So I really encourage all student org officers to check out this webpage and continue to think creatively about events and programming that you can be hosting for your student org, because although we're still virtual, I think student orgs are one of the most powerful and effective ways to keep students involved on campus. That's about all I have for the legislation that we've been working on this year. So I will turn it over to Director Nielsen.
Thank you. Hi, guys. My name is Taylor Nielsen, and I am the Director of Governmental and Community Affairs for ASUW. I'm going to be reporting today on this new amazing program that we just got to go live yesterday. It is called Pokes Vote. It is a WYO courses shell that should either be on everyone's dashboard next to all of their classes, or there should have been an email that went out to all of the students yesterday or the day before that has a link that can take you to the sign up page to be able to get that on your dashboard. Basically, Pokes Vote is the virtual answer to what usually happens through the SLICE department during election years, where we provide resources and programs to help educate students on what they need to know about the upcoming election process and how to get them involved in that. So what we decided to do was create a WYO courses shell that contained 8 modules in it. This includes things like voter registration that will tell you what documents you need to have in order to be able to register to vote, where you can go to do that, where to find your polling stations. Additionally, we will be having an on-campus voter registration on October 13th, and that is under that module as well. We have one that talks about absentee ballots and early ballots and kind of just walks you through all the information you need to know with that. Information about election day, what it looks like if you're in another state. Additionally, we've been working really hard these past few weeks to put together candidate profiles that outline the presidential candidates all the way down to some of the local election candidates, so that you can hop on there and see what issues everyone supports and stands for, so that you can decide for yourself who it is that you want to support when you decide to go vote on election day or with your absentee or mail-in ballot. Additionally, we have put a lot of effort into creating and evaluating information module. With the amount of misinformation that is being presented and bias that can be thrown out, especially with everything being virtual, we wanted to provide some resources for students to be able to tell if the information that they're getting is actually factual or if it's trying to persuade them to believe one way or another. And so that's a really awesome resource that we have in there that everybody can be able to check out. We are putting together additionally a why vote module that will have not just your typical reasons such as it's your civic duty or it's a good way to get your voice heard, but additional reasons as to why it's important that you vote in this election, because you're voting for who will be the vice president, the upcoming Supreme Court seats. Additionally, we're going to have some really powerful videos from students who are not able to vote in the election due to citizenship situations, and how voting impacts them as well, and if they could vote, why they would. And so that's going to be a really amazing module that once we get that published should encourage everyone to vote in this election. Additionally, at the end of these modules, we have one for ASUW, because if you are interested in getting your voice heard and being involved in the political process, ASUW is a wonderful resource to be able to do that. As we all know, being involved allows you to exercise those same kind of rights and civil liberties. And so we're going to be having an ASUW module that'll kind of outline similar things directly to ASUW so that hopefully come the next election process, we see even a higher voter turnout there as well. Along with that, each module has a quiz at the end that basically just covers some of the basic information that's talked about in that module. And if it's completed, you'll be entered to win a prize. And at the end of all of these modules, we have a huge quiz, essentially, that just compiles all of the other questions, with the grand prize being a Nintendo Switch with Animal Crossing. And we'll be drawing the winner from all of these quizzes on Election Day. So on November 3rd, we will announce who is going to get all of these amazing prizes. All you have to do is get on and participate in that quiz. You don't have to have a perfect score. You don't even have to pass it. You just have to show us that you're engaged and you want to be involved in this process. And so that is an amazing way for all students to be involved in this election process, regardless of citizenship or voter status. Additionally, as I kind of mentioned earlier, we have been pushing really hard now that we're in phase 3 to be able to have an on-campus voter registration, which will be taking place October 13th in the Simpson Plaza, weather permitting. If not, it will be in either the family room or the Senate chambers, and we'll keep everyone posted on that. It'll be from 10 a.m. to 2 p.m., and we're going to have some of the city clerks come to notarize people so that students don't have to try to navigate the kind of intimidating situation that many people are faced with when they go to register to vote, and maybe they haven't experienced any of that before. So we're trying to provide a more welcoming environment so that more students are able to participate in this election process. And we're just going to be constantly updating all of this information, trying to create new opportunities for students to get involved in the election process. In terms of the actual WIO courses shell for Pokes Vote, we're going to be providing new content in the weeks to come that are just beefing up the modules that are already in there. We've been working really hard with some of the students and student organizations, as well as professors and administration, to put together little videos that just say why it is important to vote, information about all of those modules more clearly outlined, and just content in general that will hopefully be a great resource for students so that come election day, they feel completely prepared to go out and exercise their right to vote. Additionally, we put together some swag. We have some awesome holographic stickers for Pokes Vote, and we're looking to get in some more swag. So be on the lookout for the ways that we're going to be promoting that and how you can win some of that. And that is all for Pokes Vote. Thanks, guys.
Thank you, Director Nielsen. I cannot encourage you all enough to participate in Pokes Vote. It only happens once every 4 years, so it's incredibly exciting that we get to be a part of it.
Also, the grand prize is a Nintendo Switch with Animal Crossing. How exciting.
Nothing better to do in between your Zoom classes than play some Animal Crossing.
Yes.
Okay, so now we're on to the open forum portion of our ASW Town Hall, talking with Talamantes and Titus. I do have a couple questions that came in over the feedback form over the past couple weeks. So my first question is from a student, and they say, I'm a little worried. If COVID mutates before a vaccine is present, will the rest of my college experience be ruined?
Yeah, so I can take that question. It's definitely hard to say yes or no to that, mainly just because I think from what and when I say we, I mean myself and some of the other university administrators who helped create the plan to come back to campus. Even, planning that 5 or 6 months ago was a really difficult process because we didn't know what, the state of COVID would look like at the time. And so I think that question is a bit difficult to answer. But I do just want to emphasize that students have always been at the forefront of some of the decisions that the university has made, even, when it was an unfortunate timing that we decided to go to a phase plan less than 2 weeks before students were expected back onto campus. One of the main reasons for that was because President Seidel and his team really wanted to make sure that when students are coming back, that we're coming back safe, that we're coming back being able to surveillance test students who are going to be on campus just to make sure that students aren't getting sick and are still staying well. And so that's, I think, really the basis of what the decision making has been. I truly hope that, we can be able to go back to normal within the next academic year. But I do just want to emphasize that sometimes it is not necessarily the university's decision to allow students back onto campus, especially if the situation is very dire. So, for instance, in the spring, in March, when the federal government had kind of decided that we all had to shut down businesses, even a bunch of different schools, universities. Those were things that were decided by the federal government. If, there is a situation where COVID does mutate and we do have to shut down, that is something that is entirely out of the university's control. However, I do just want to mention that, again, students have been at the forefront of some of these decisions. And I think even if there is an instance where COVID is still here and present next academic year, I just know that, the members of the board, a lot of the people who are on, on the ground with students, working with them, really do want to make sure that we're still back in an in-person environment, and we'll try to do that in the safest manner possible. So I apologize for not being able to, directly answer that question, but I hope that that just provides some reassurance that even if there is, a dire situation like that, the university will make decisions keeping the students and their education in mind.
Thank you, President Talamantes. I think that's a difficult question and something that all students have weighing heavy on our minds, even students within AHW. And it's probably a question that would require just a magic crystal ball to kind of predict the future. So although it's unfortunate, we're all sort of going through this together, and we're going to do our best to do what we can to support our students. So my next question is kind of along those same lines. A student is wondering, what is the university doing to compensate us? Meaning that they feel they might have gotten a loss in quality of education or a loss in income. What is UW doing to support these students who may have been feeling this way?
Well, I think there's a variety of things. If the student is eligible, they can apply for the Wyoming Cares grant that was presented by the state of Wyoming to help students get support within some of their housing and living costs at the university. Additionally, as you had mentioned, Courtney, earlier, the ASUW had passed a piece of legislation in support of student employees. So we're going to be collaborating with the Emergency Executive Policy Group, who essentially runs a lot of the COVID decisions and operations at the university, as well as human resources, to make sure that if there is a pause or if, students' employment was affected by the phase plan, that there would be a way that those departments can help compensate students for those loss of hours. As for in the context of tuition and maybe the educational aspects that they have gotten in the fall semester, what academic affairs had done over the course for 3 to 4 months throughout the summer was to be working with faculty on kind of teaching them and doing workshops with them on what it is like to teach online. How can we engage students and make sure that their education is still up to par as it would be if it were in person? I know that maybe the way that classes have changed are a lot different, from what they are in the spring, because professors have had an entire summer really to prepare their courses for this academic year. But I think that the ways that the university is compensating you all within their tuition is really just trying to change the way that, we all are getting our education, but it's still within a safe and kind of manner.
Thank you. And I think this is our last final question for the afternoon. So a student asks, what can you do if you feel like your professors are compromising your education, or if you feel like your professors aren't providing the quality of education that we would have gotten in person? And I can answer that. I think the number one thing that you should do is approach your department chair or the dean of your college. This can be as simple as an email and just explaining to them some of the concerns that you have. Especially if you are a first-year student in this position, it may seem pretty scary and intimidating to do something like that, but I'm telling you that your department chairs and your deans are in these roles to ensure that all the faculty within their department and their college are delivering a quality education. So they want to hear from students, and they want to know, when something isn't going according to plan or as expected. And I can speak from personal experience. I've gone through this process before, and it's been incredibly productive and effective, not only for me, but also just for the faculty member that we were working with. So I really encourage you all to do that. And if that is, if that doesn't result in something that is productive for you, productive for the faculty member, you can also visit uwyo.edu/student complaint. And there are a couple complaints processes outlined on that webpage. On that webpage, there's also helpful forms to fill out if you need a grade appeal. At the end of the semester, if you need to appeal your grade for whatever reason, that's how you do that as well. So hopefully those resources are helpful for you, especially if you're a first-year student and just getting your feet wet. And I would also say that you can reach out to your faculty member, your professor directly. They are invested in hearing from you as well and want to know how their online experience is. And a lot of professors are teaching distance and online for the first time in their careers. A lot of professors and teachers, got their training and education probably long before virtual distance education was ever really a widespread thing. So, take the chance, give folks a benefit of the doubt. We have to extend as much grace and patience as possible during this time and just bridge that gap so that communication can form. All right, well, seeing no further questions, I want to thank you all for attending the fourth installment of Talking with Talamantes and Titus. Please follow us on our social media. This is the best way to keep in touch with us, know all things that are happening within AHW and on the EW campus. We try and do a really good job of filtering out what students need to know and posting that on our social media. We're right there with you with our inundated and full inboxes, so you can trust that AHW will filter out the news that you need to know. So I encourage you all to follow us on our social media and reach out to us if you have any further questions or concerns. I also want to thank all of the senators and executives for being here this afternoon. It was incredible to hear from you all, and I really hope that we can stay in touch.